Live, this is News Channel 8 at 5 on your side.
Communities swamped with storm surge. Look at these high water rescue teams deploying in Hudson to rescue residents who tried to ride out Idalia.
Submerged yards, homes, and overflowing waterways. Hillsborough County bringing us this survey of the damage from above. The warning they're now sharing about some of the cars you may see immersed in the water.
And property damage piling up. Just look at this full-size sailboat tossed like a toy up on the land. 8 on your side is keeping you safe through the storm as well as the recovery. And in just a few moments, we're expecting an emergency update from the city of Tampa about the hurricane response here. Good evening, I'm Keith Kate.
I'm Jennifer Lee. Thank you for joining us. We are getting a lot of information about when services will resume and when things will reopen. Hillsborough and Pinellas counties both just announcing evacuation orders are lifted. We're going to have more on those updates, but first we need to check in with News Channel 8's Jeff Patterson.
Yeah, Jeff is in Cedar Key, which took a wallop from this storm. He rode it out overnight. Jeff, what's the latest from there?
Good evening, Keith and Jen. Well, I just want to show you some of the destruction that we watched as it happened last night. We watched this whole thing unfold. This is part of a dock that came from over there. If you look, you see all of the wood on top of those pilings is now over here, and behind me is a row of condominiums that has been here for some time. I've been here for other hurricanes and I've seen damage similar to this during some of those storms, Hurricane Hermine, then Hurricane Mitch. It's basically, those are blow-away walls that are kind of designed to do this. Now the code would not allow for that kind of construction. I was talking to a homeowner here, and the bottom of that platform where you see where the residents are standing up there is about 10 feet tall. And so they were concerned last night as the storm surge was coming in that it might reach above their balcony and into their residences, but thankfully it did not. I want to show you some incredible video that we got last night. We started out around 4:30 in the morning around the downtown area, and then at 5:30 the water started rapidly rising, coming up into the downtown business district. At one point I was able to put my hand on the street. 10 minutes later, that place was covered by about a foot of water, and then over the next hour the storm surge just continued to roll in, doing some significant damage. We watched as this island inn that we're about to show you, we watched as the water kind of rolled in and then did some significant damage. As I was watching, there's a place that measures the storm surge, and it got up to about 10 feet. Sustained waves were crashing in at 12 to 13 feet. The Cedar Key Fire Rescue told me that they were concerned that the storm surge was going to go to 16 feet. Thankfully, it never got that high. As the storm surge started to diminish, then the high tide was coming in, but thankfully it did not get up to 16 feet. But I just want to be able to come back out live now and show you how destructive this was. If you'll notice this little island inn behind me, the entire wall of this was blasted out. A building that was over here is now completely gone. The debris is in a street just a little ways away, but the water got up to about, I would say, here. Because if you look on a lot of these units, you can see the high water line, and the water was here as it was crashing in from the Gulf of Mexico, just doing this incredible damage. We have no power here on the island. There's no water, but I have just spoken to some people who have been able to drive in from the Ocala area, and the bridges getting out to Cedar Key are now open, and that is significant. So we've watched the National Guard as they've been driving around. First responders who stayed here all night, they've been out assessing the damage. Saw a Black Hawk helicopter just a little while ago flying over Cedar Key and the coastal areas doing a damage assessment, and that's going to be going on for some time. We've seen a couple of power company crew trucks driving onto the island, and hopefully they will begin the process of restoration. But first they have to do an assessment to find out exactly what kind of power lines have been knocked down, what kind of power poles have been knocked down. But as you can tell just by looking behind me, this storm really hit this island pretty hard, and we'll throw it back to you guys in the studio.
It's just a heartbreak to see so much damage and those folks with their livelihoods connected to it as well. We'll circle back to you in a little bit, Jeff. Jeff Patterson reporting live at Cedar Key. Thank you. And
all of that damage is creating a race to restore power. Tens of thousands in our viewing area are still in the dark right now. Duke reporting more than 30,000 people without electricity from Citrus to Pinellas. TECO says 2,400 of its customers are without power, but they say they should have everyone restored by the end of today. So that's some good news there. And according to FPL's outage tracker, between Manatee and Sarasota counties, 8,500 customers still don't have electricity. And some airports closed for the storms are now reopening. PIA just reopened their terminal building. Flights will resume there tomorrow, but you should still double check with your airline before you head there. Meanwhile, Tampa International Airport just started accepting arriving flights at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Full operations resume at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. TPA shared this video of the flooding on their property. Airport officials say it never reached the runway and they sustained minimal damage. And some updates for parents. Hillsborough County Schools just announcing they will reopen tomorrow. Hernando County will reopen tomorrow as well. Citrus County says school is canceled through at least Thursday. They don't have a timeline yet for resuming classes, so stay tuned with us. We'll give you any updates as we get them, and we are still waiting on word from Pinellas County. Pasco County just announced in the last few minutes that it will be back open tomorrow. Polk County will go back to school on Friday. Sarasota County will also resume classes tomorrow. In Hernando County, the floodwater is receding at this hour, but the damage from Idalia has already been done in several neighborhoods. Yeah, the cleanup is just beginning in both Weeki Wachee and Hernando Beach. News Channel 8's Justin Checker joining us live from Hernando Beach, where some residents evacuated, and of course, you always have some who do not. And how is everyone faring today, Justin?
Keith and Jen, good afternoon to you both. The families that did evacuate were worried about two things: storm surge and flooding. All eyes were on that the high tide earlier this afternoon, but by that time, the water had already gone inside some of the homes here in Hernando Beach, and an overflowing Weeki Wachee River damaged more homes north of here. This is video of a neighborhood off Shoreline Boulevard in Weeki Wachee that flooded this morning. Right across the street, the Weeki Wachee Marina was also underwater. You have to hope many of these homeowners in these low-lying coastal areas do have flood insurance, as the cleanup is just beginning. I met one Hernando Beach resident who says her family did not evacuate in part because they have several rescued Great Danes. She says they're planning to actually sell their home, move back to Michigan, but now they have a cleanup on their hands. What do you make of this flooding?
Crazy. Like, we've stayed for other hurricanes. We didn't really think this was going to happen, but it happened, and it was not good. We just redid our entire base lower level, and my car was in the garage, and the car's gone. The lower level's a mess.
And Keith and Jen, we're already starting to see some acts of kindness after this hurricane. Met one Pasco County father who drove up here to Hernando County with his children to distribute water, food, and gas to the families dealing with the immediate aftermath of this hurricane. And several longtime residents are telling 8 on Your Side this is the worst flooding to hit Hernando County since the no-name storm back in 1993. Keith, Jen?
Yeah, I think Jeff's going to talk a little bit about that no-name storm because there are some comparisons to be made with that. Thank you, Justin Checker, live in Hernando County. Well, one area where experts did not anticipate much flooding saw significant water levels. News Channel 8's Annie Mapp is live in Manatee County in Ribonia. Annie, the water has receded a bit there, but that wasn't the case just a few hours ago.
It looks very different here earlier this morning, Keith and Jen. Now, I'm here off 70th Street Court East again in Ribonia. This is a low-lying area. It's right off the Terracea Bay. And earlier today, this area was completely covered in water. And that's why county crews came out here and put out warning signs asking people not to drive on these roadways. And they also went to knock on doors to see that people were okay.
When the water come up, I left.
91-year-old Agnes Brooks tells me it was around 4 in the morning when she decided floodwaters were becoming unsafe at her Ribonia home.
I'm too old to stay and then can't run.
Agnes is one of several residents who evacuated the area. County crews helped others that didn't leave in time.
We've gone door to door. We've removed some residents from their homes who needed help getting out. We helped them get out of their houses. We had a high water rescue vehicle out here earlier today, and we're able to get some folks out using that.
Although many homeowners placed sandbags outside to protect their property, they say it wasn't enough.
It's very upsetting because now I got to go in there. We got to take everything pretty much out of the house and pretty much throw it away. Some things you can let, if the sun come out, you can let dry out, but most of the things you have to get rid of.
County leaders say some residents who did have water go into their home requested that their electricity be cut off so that they could go inside and assess the damage. Reporting live in Manatee County, Annie Map 8 on your side.
All right, thank you, Annie.
Jeff Berardelli standing by right now. You continue to track the remnants of this storm at this point. Did it live up to all of your expectations? I feel like your forecasting was spot on.
It did exactly what we expected it to do. In Tampa Bay, we forecast between 4 and 7 feet of storm surge. We got about 5 to 6 feet of storm surge. We actually broke records in most of the bay for high water marks over the past few decades. All right, here's a look at the storm right now. We still have onshore flow, these feeder bands, and this strong wind pushing up against the coast, not allowing the water to recede very much. So it's going to be a while before the water goes away, probably another 24 hours or so. But we've reached the highest tides that we're going to see. It's all downhill from here. It's just going to take a little time for that water to push back out. All right, the storm has moved into Georgia. It's now not a hurricane anymore. It is a tropical storm. It has winds of 70 miles an hour. It made landfall as a 3, but briefly was a 4, actually, right before landfall. There it is, about to cross the Georgia-South Carolina line. Tomorrow morning, it will exit out of the coast of North Carolina around Wilmington. After that, it's headed out into the Atlantic Ocean. It's going to get stalled out for a couple of days, but then it will probably resume its northeast course after that. Want to show you this. A lot of information here, but it basically shows you the peak water levels in all these areas. Now, this is near downtown Tampa. We got up to 7 feet. Notice how far above the actual level where the prediction was, and it actually happened at low tide. This is the prediction, blue line, and the red line indicating the actual water level. The actual water level, 7 feet near downtown Tampa, around 7 feet or so Clearwater Beach. Not quite a record there, but we did see a record in Port Manatee, and we also had a record in Cedar Key. Look at this, about 11 feet of storm surge, 11 feet of a tidal level. However, it was about 9 feet of storm surge in Cedar Key, so quite a lot of storm surge out there. The other issue we've had is rain. Lakewood Ranch, close to 2 inches. Sideways rain right now. We have a squall that is moving through that area as we speak, and you can see it on Max Defender 8 radar. We'll have more on the radar, and we'll have our forecast into the weekend. Some big changes on the way, coming your way in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And you can track storms with our free Max Defender 8 app. It puts Florida's most advanced radar in the palm of your hand.
Well, this recovery effort is well underway at this hour.
It is. 8 on your side. We'll be right back to keep you up to date on rescue and restoration.
Eagle 8 HD coverage is brought to you by your Suncoast Hyundai dealers. Visit your local dealer today or shop buyhyundai.com.
Well, here's something to think about. You might want to be extremely careful with your electric or hybrid vehicles because Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says if you drive one of these cars and it comes into contact with floodwaters, it can be dangerous, and they don't want you to park it in your garage.
This is something I'd never heard before. They say salt water can cause those cars' batteries to catch fire or explode. It goes for golf carts and scooters too, so be aware. Just minutes ago, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office issued an update. Access to all barrier islands now open to the public with no restrictions.
Now that's a good thing because, you know, with Jeff Berardelli joining us now, anytime you have these storms, this inability to get emergency crews and back to your place, it's very frustrating.
And to assess what you're dealing with out there, that's frustrating.
And what we're dealing with is we've already had the high water mark, so now the water's going to be receding very slowly. But, you know, we called for 4 to 7 feet of surge. That's exactly what happened in Tampa Bay, about 6 feet of surge. This storm missed us by 200 miles.
Incredible.
You know, it just goes to show you how susceptible we are to storm surge here in the Bay Area. In fact, I want to show you a graphic of the no-name storm. Everyone talks about it as the no-name storm here because it was kind of unexpected. However, this was the superstorm for other parts of the United States. It happened in March. It produced blockbuster snow in places like Birmingham, Alabama, all the way up to New England. But take a look at the surge. This is a graphic from the National Weather Service. And it happened in March from a cold front, a squall line. Severe thunderstorms marched across the Gulf of Mexico and pushed so much water in that we saw as much as, look at this, 12 feet of storm surge in Pine Island Hernando County, Cedar Key had close to 10 feet of storm surge. Hudson, 9 feet of storm surge. So it goes to show you, even without a full-blown hurricane, we are very susceptible to storm surge. And again, if we had a direct hit from a storm like the one last night, well, that would produce 2 to 3 times the amount of surge that Tampa Bay saw last night. That is how vulnerable we are. Luckily, we have dodged another one in terms of at least a direct hit in Tampa Bay proper. There is the storm. It's weakening as it moves north into Georgia and now South Carolina. It's no longer a hurricane. It's now a tropical storm, and it's going to be moving out to sea tomorrow morning. We still have some pretty heavy bands, some feeder bands moving through the area. In Duet, you picked up some much-needed rain. Already 3 inches of rain. We have some gusty squalls moving through that area right now. In fact, I want to show you on Max Defender 8. So we've dried out nicely right now, at least on the Nature Coast, all the way down through Pinellas County and most of Hillsborough County. Heaviest rain is across Polk County and then into Manatee and Sarasota County. We zoom in, heavy downpours around Fort Meade, right along 98. Also some downpours in Lake Wales and Highland Park. Further to the southwest, this is the same squall line. It extends straight through Manatee County on the east side. We showed you the rain in Duet, Myakka Head, down to Lakewood Ranch, and also in the Sarasota area. We picked up quite a bit of rainfall across the area. Remember, we're 18 inches below normal in Sarasota, or we were 18 inches below normal in Sarasota. We picked up 4 to 6 inches in and around Bradenton, Sarasota, so we're making up for that deficit. In general, about 2 to 4 inches of rain, but a couple of spots, look at that right there, 7 inches and 5.5 right there. And we're going to see some more rain over the next couple of days. We're going to talk a lot more about that coming up in just a bit with Rebecca Berry. Hey, Rebecca, what are we expecting as we head into the weekend?
Well, we do have some rounds of rain to get through, but this is what we've been asking for, especially now that we don't have the wind out there. We've been asking for good chances for rain. There's a lot going on in the tropics. We've got what's left of Idalia, now a tropical storm. Franklin, this area that may develop as a low chance. This is tropical depression number 11, and this is probably the one to watch in terms of chances for development, but the trajectory is northward, making it's most likely going to be a fish storm. And so let's talk about those gusty showers, on again, off again periods of rain throughout the evening hours. Now, it's mainly to the south of I-4 for the next bit, but we'll eventually see some showers making their way towards the Nature Coast by early tomorrow morning, and we're stuck in the same pattern tomorrow. And that's not too bad. It's a little breezy, a little overcast, and then we have on again, off again chances for much needed rain, and that will keep us out of the 90s for the most part, which is better for the power crews working out there. It's better for the people that don't have power to not be in those sweltering mid to low 90s. And so for the most part, sticking to the mid to upper 80s during the day tomorrow. Big rounds of rain are possible to head through our counties and then back out towards the East Coast. We start to see a slightly more southerly direction Thursday night, and that's going to keep us pretty muggy overnight, waking up around 80. But on Friday, it's more of the same. Still breezy, gusty, on again, off again periods of rain. I think they'll be a little bit slower moving on Friday, so you may end up with heavier rainfall totals. But by Friday night, we're starting to transition to slightly drier weather in our southern counties, still raining a bit around sunset. And then Saturday morning, we're waking up to some showers offshore, but we've got drier air moving towards us at that point. And so rain over the next couple of days will be widespread. On again, off again chances for showers, a little slower moving on Friday, but then that drier air moves in and almost eliminates our chances for showers. I think we'll have a couple of showers on Saturday, but by Sunday, that drier air is even lowering our humidity. Check it out. This is our mugginess scale. We're looking at some lower dew points as we head into next week. Now, the winds will continue to be onshore until Saturday. So Saturday is when our rivers and bays will really start to dump out a little bit more quickly if they haven't already emptied out at that point. And so a nice refreshing breeze, waking up with lower humidity and mid 70s next week and mostly sunny skies. There's lots more to come just after this break.
We have another update to share with you here. Pinellas County schools will be reopening tomorrow, meaning they will join Hillsborough and Hernando counties, which are also going to be open. Citrus County schools are closed, though, through at least Thursday.
Meanwhile, residents and business owners along the Alafaya River are dealing with flooding that has continued to get worse throughout the day.
Shannon Bacon is joining us live in Gibsonton. This is in Hillsborough County. Tell us what's happening there, Shannon.
Jen, Keith, property owners here tell me that they know being here along the Alafaya River comes with a risk of flooding, but they say they've never seen the river flood quite like this. Customers love Jerry's Dockside Bar and Grill's waterfront view, but today the water was too close for comfort. The Alafaya River surged over the lower deck and threatened to breach the second deck. Owner Patrick Clark tells me he's owned this business for 7 years.
So this is the highest we've ever seen the river come. We're hoping it doesn't come any higher so we don't have to shut the power down and we can kind of keep everything the way it is. So far, not too much damage, but a lot of water.
Around the corner on Magnolia Street, Eric Leach woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of water.
I slowly watched the water get closer and closer. By about 4, water was starting to come in the house. And about 4:30, about 75% of the house was covered, and that's when I moved down the street to one of my neighbors.
Both of these property owners tell me they have insurance, but neither of them could get flood insurance. And that means they are both left to pay for repairs themselves. The good news here is that we've been watching the water reside here over the last couple of hours, and the owner, he has now gone home to rest. He tells me he'll be back tomorrow to check out the damage and start rebuilding. Back to you.
All right. Shannon Banker reporting live in Hillsborough County.
And we just got word, guys, that Clearwater Beach has lifted its evacuation order. So we're seeing these evacuation orders lift. We're seeing the bridges reopen, so people are able to get back out onto the barrier islands. All improvements.
And that means the water's going down. So all the high tides we've worried about today, we've gone through all of them now, right?
Yes, I think we'll still see some high tide flooding just because of the moon and the excess of water and the onshore winds holding the water in our rivers.
But like you said earlier, it's exactly what we expected and predicted.
Yes, and I've gotten a bunch of alerts from the National Weather Service. Almost all of the alerts have been dropped now.
Good.
Good news.
That's what we're talking about. All right.
And that's the news for this half hour. We'll be right back with News Channel 8 at 5:30 as we continue our storm coverage.
Live, this is News Channel 8 at 5:30 on your side.
If you are just joining us now at 5:30, we have to show you this unbelievable look at the waves rolling down the street, overtaking the Cedar Key neighborhood. Some neighbors telling News Channel 8 the waves almost overtook their second-story balcony.
Really some heartbreaking video there. The water may be receding now, but this infrastructure damage is done. 8 on your side watching restrictions and closures across our viewing area. Other roads, though, are reopening. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Lee.
And I'm Josh Benson. Thanks for being here. Pinellas County announcing access to all barrier islands now open. Bridges are back open. In Tampa as well, with access restored to Davis Island.
But there is still a lot of work to do in some of the harder hit areas.
Yeah, we continue our team coverage of Hurricane Idalia and its aftermath tonight. Jack Royer is live in Crystal River with how neighbors are faring tonight. Hi, Jack.
Hi, guys. We want to tell you the good news is it does seem the waters are receding a bit. This is where the staging area has been for water rescues. The sheriff's office has been using airboats all afternoon. The water seems to have backed off a bit, but I want to give you some perspective on how this could have affected so many more people and how it did already affect so many. That's where the water is, and just down this street, this is 44, that's the hotel where our crew spent the night in between shifts where we were covering this storm. So it is totally up to Mother Nature is the lesson here in how this water recedes, how far it goes, and how many people and lives it changes. Take a look at what we've been seeing all day today. People out surveying the damage, seeing what they could see. We expect to get some video from the sheriff's office in just a little while showing us some of the worst of this flooding and how it's affected people. We've been out and about talking to Citrus County residents, to people who live in Crystal City about what they had, what they lost, and how this storm affected them.
Yeah, my house is flooded. We can't go back home, so I'm staying with a friend right now. Got my car out, my dog out, so.
You seem to be in pretty good spirits.
Well, what can you do? We're alive. That's the biggest thing.
A lot of people with good spirits despite the circumstance today, knowing that they have a long road ahead in some cases, and still optimistic about it, out helping each other today. Coming up in just a little while, we'll hear more from the sheriff and show you some of the images he shared with us from their survey via helicopter today of some of the hardest hit areas. Josh and Jen.
Right. Jack Royer live for us in Citrus County. Great job out there, Jack. Thanks so much.
In Pasco County, floodwaters took over streets from Hudson to Newport Richey throughout the morning.
Yeah, Stacy DeSilva is in Newport Richey in Pasco County, where people are facing more than flooding cleanup. Stacy.
Yeah, unfortunately they are, Josh and Jen. We are here on Riverview Drive. This area was covered in floodwaters for most of the day today. A river nearby had swollen and surrounded these homes, including this home. The owners here are dealing with not only damage from floodwaters, but fire.
If we had been here, we'd have been sleeping right here.
Instead, Newport Richey's Al Shaw and his wife were evacuated and sleeping in a Tampa hotel at 6 o'clock Wednesday morning when he got a call from his neighbor.
And I was disheartened to get that call. I never expected to get a call that my house was on fire. So Kudos to the fire department. Police department were here first. They were throwing buckets of water on it.
Shaw says the fire started in a workroom on the side of his house and spread into his bedroom.
We lost a lot of stuff here, but it could have been a lot worse. We could have been home, and if I was home, I probably would have been trying to get stuff out, and I probably would have ended up in the hospital myself from smoke inhalation because the smoke was really bad.
News Channel 8 captured video of fire crews still on scene hours later, working on the fire in floodwaters.
In my opinion, they actually saved the house.
Incredible work by these fire crews. By the way, this couple just moved to Florida about 3 years ago from New Hampshire. They tell me they were unaware of the advice that you should turn power off before evacuating. They want to make sure that anybody listening here doesn't have to learn this hard lesson. But guys, it breaks your heart to see them going through this.
You're absolutely
really
right.
does.
And at least they're lucky to be alive tonight, too. Stacey DeSilva live in Pasco County for us. Thanks so much for that. Well, storm surge left businesses damaged and streets underwater all across Sarasota.
Yeah, the worst of it impacting the barrier islands and the areas surrounding the bay. Allison Henning joins us now live from our Sarasota County Bureau with a closer look at the damage there tonight. Allison.
Jen, Josh, well, we all knew it was going to happen, but so many people were still surprised by how much those water levels continued to rise into this afternoon. Many people telling us this storm did far more damage than they anticipated. Even from well offshore, Hurricane Idalia rocked boats out of Sarasota Bay overnight, bringing countless onlookers out to the downtown area as conditions started to settle down.
There's a boat basically sitting on a bench over there, like, it's crazy. I've never seen this before.
Aside from the boat that ended up on the city's park bench here, we saw two others that broke loose in the bay, ending up right against the seawall, tangled in the trees along Tamiami Trail. The storm also ripped apart the dock outside O'Leary's Tiki Bar and Grill, which is a popular spot for locals and visitors alike. You can see here part of their outdoor dining area and picnic tables mixed in with Sarasota Bay.
I eat there quite often, and it's just insane that, like, it's completely underwater and there's so much damage, and it's just insane.
And over the John Ringling Causeway, which was closed down for several hours, St. Armand's Circle is virtually underwater. Sarasota police shared this video showing the streets looking more like canals.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, you can see over there, and it looks like the buildings are still there, but I have no idea what the flooding is and everything else, so I just hope they're okay.
And at this hour, Sarasota police tell us St. Armand's Circle is still blocked off to the public right now because of the flooding in that area. Now, we should have a better idea in the hours and days to come exactly how bad that water damage is out there on those barrier islands, because we did not have any access to that area today, but we, of course, will keep you updated. Josh, Jen.
Allison Henning live for us in Sarasota. Be safe out there. Thank you.
Want to check in with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baradelli. Now, Jeff, the kayakers had a short time on Bayshore Boulevard. Looks like their fun is over.
A narrow window.
Jen, you missed your chance.
I did miss my chance. I wish I'd thought of it.
We thought for sure that was you paddleboarding out on Bayshore Boulevard. A lot of folks were out there earlier, but take a look. Big change here. Water is receding. Look, people are actually biking and walking. Still a little bit of water left over on Bayshore Boulevard. It's going to take a little while to scour that water out, but definitely some improvement as the winds begin to die down. Look at this, though. The dew point is 80, so the atmosphere is tropically humid, and we're going to see these tropical downpours on and off for the next couple of days, but drier weather after that. All right, I want to show you a couple of tide gauges. Now, this is East Bay near the Port of Tampa, which is right near the downtown of Tampa. We had a peak water today of 7.2 feet. Now, let me show you. The red line, that's today's water level. This is where it should have been if we didn't have a storm. So we saw about 6 feet of storm surge flooding there and about 9 feet of storm surge flooding in Cedar Key with a peak close to around 11 feet. That, again, is where the water was. That's where it should have been, and it happened at low tide, so it would have actually been worse, especially in places like Cedar Key. If it wasn't for the tide being low, we would have seen a couple more feet of water. All right, looking at satellite and radar right now, the storm's pulling away. Conditions are improving. Still some feeder bands over the area right now, feeding into the system, helping to power it. That's how these systems survive. They pull in, kind of like an octopus, moisture and winds from all different directions, and it all spirals into the center, and that helps to make these systems stronger and stronger. But the storm is right now over land, and so because it's losing its water source for the most part, it has weakened now to a tropical storm, no longer a hurricane. Now notice this. When it came on shore, it was a Cat 4 right before landfall. Right at landfall, it became a Cat 3, so it weakened just about a few minutes before landfall. Now, again, winds are 70 miles an hour, so it has weakened to a tropical storm. That's the official forecast track. It'll be affecting the Carolinas through early tomorrow morning, and then moving out to the Atlantic Ocean, we will see some improvement after that, the further the storm moves away. But we're still going to be stuck in the tail of moisture across the area, and you can see we're left with some heavy downpours across southern portions of our area right now. We'll be back in just a bit. Myself and meteorologist Rebecca Berry will be talking about your holiday weekend forecast.
We like the sound of that. Thank you, Jeff. You can track storms with our free Max Defend Rate app. It puts Florida's most advanced radar in the palm of your hand. We'll be right back.
Eagle 8 HD coverage is brought to you by your Suncoast Hyundai dealers. Visit your local dealer today or shop buyhyundai.com. You're watching News Channel 8 at 5:30 with Jennifer Lee, Josh Benson, and meteorologist Rebecca Berry.
Some more good news tonight. Bridge access to the barrier islands has officially reopened. Crews spent the afternoon cleaning debris and making sure the roads were passable.
News Channel 8's Brittany Muller joins us now live from Treasure Island. Brittany, you're at Sunset Beach. I know there was some significant flooding there earlier, but I'm happy to see you're able to get onto the beach.
Yes, now I'm on the beach, and so are some of the residents, because that bridge access, like you were just mentioning, is now open. And so residents are coming to take a look at the surf and some of the damage and debris that's out here, including in front of Caddy's restaurant. You can see some of the tree limbs and branches that are down. This tree behind me has been uprooted, and now people that had been eager all day are finally checking out their property tonight.
Gusty winds, crashing waves, and flooded streets.
This is our 4th year here, and this is our 3rd ice storm, and the water keeps coming up closer and closer to our condo. We're on the intercoastal, and we don't like the ice storms, but it looks like it got as close as it's ever been on this storm.
Water seen in every direction you look.
It's about waist deep at the north end of the island, and then on the south side of the island, you can't pass through a regular car at all. So through Paso Grill, I'm assuming it's about knee deep most of the way.
And since this afternoon, much of it has receded. You can see the water line and the debris left behind.
As you can see, the water line came up to about right here. And I don't think it's going to come up quite as high, so I think that the last surge hopefully won't be quite as bad.
On Treasure Island, bridge access to the barrier islands is now open. But earlier today, when it was restricted, it prevented this couple from checking on their property. So they decided to take matters into their own hands and go by boat.
And you could see that surf out there. People are making their way into the water, checking it out. But reminder, it is pretty dangerous. Those rip currents are definitely a concern out here. I just checked the Pinellas County Schools Facebook page. School in Pinellas County will resume tomorrow on Thursday. That's the latest here from Treasure Island. For now, reporting live, Brittany Muller, 8 on your side.
All right, thank you very much, Brittany. We appreciate your coverage out there. I'm with that lady. I am over these ice storms.
I'm over all storms.
Yeah. Agreed. Here.
Unfortunately, peak of hurricane season is coming up in about 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, I remember September 10th, 11th,
September 10th.
12th. It's
Yeah,
always
exactly.
been the nasty week.
That's right.
So this was early for us. But you have been tracking, in the last 7 years, 8 major hurricanes that have actually come by the Gulf.
It has been very, very busy. You know, it used to be that hurricanes in the Gulf would weaken as they made landfall, often, most often. But all of a sudden, over the past 7 years, almost every one of these storms is intensifying in the Gulf, becoming a major hurricane. Exactly. Water is really, really hot and intensifying right up to landfall, which causes a lot more damage. So that's a look at the map. And I mean, it dots all of the Gulf of Mexico. Look at all the these are all major hurricanes. Not all the hurricanes, just the major hurricanes, 3s, 4s, and 5s that have hit the Gulf Coast. Water temperatures are warming. They're at least 2 degrees warmer than they were just a few decades ago. And this year, our water temperatures are a couple of degrees above record levels, which adds more fuel to these storms and allows them to intensify rapidly, which is exactly what happened with Hurricane Idalia before it made landfall. It was a Cat 4, made landfall as a high-end 3, very low-end 4, before it moved over the land and began to weaken. As you can see, it's weakened a lot since then. It's now down to winds of around 70 miles an hour, so it's a tropical storm. Now, there is a lot that's happening in the Atlantic. It's not just Idalia. It's also Franklin, which, by the way, while we were talking so much about Idalia, Franklin was a strong Category 4 hurricane. We didn't really mention it much because we were so concentrating on this storm. Also, we have a small development chance to the east of that. That is Tropical Depression 11. And then way out here in the eastern part of the Atlantic Ocean, we have about a 60% chance of development. Luckily, none of this is going to be bothering us here in the Bay Area, but way out here over Africa, there's another disturbance that could become some type of tropical system as we head into next week. We'll worry about that then. It's a long way away, but certainly we have to keep our eyes peeled at least for the next couple of months because we're still in hurricane season. All right, looking at St. Pete Beach, the surf is calming down. The clouds are breaking up. We're starting to see a little sun. The only problem we have, that dew point is way up there at 80. So we're going to see those tropical downpours with this tropical humidity continue on and off for the next couple of days. This is a look at max Defender 8 radar. Most of us have cleared out. It's nice on the Nature Coast. It's nice in Pinellas and Hillsborough County. But across Manatee County and now crossing over into Sarasota County, some heavy downpours on the south side of Lakewood Ranch, extending east to Myakka Head, and then east-northeast of there into places like Duet, Myakka Head, we talked about, Bowling Green, Wauchula, Zolfo Springs, and also into Polk County. That is the only band that's over us right now. But there's going to be more of these on and off for about the next, let's say, 24 to 48 hours or so. How much rain have we picked up? This is a good news story because the places that really needed the rain, especially Manatee and Sarasota County, have picked up generally about 3 to 6 inches of rain in some spots at least. Look at this, Hardy and DeSoto County, about 6 to 7 inches of rain. Most of the rest of the area has picked up 2 to 4 inches. However, a couple of hot spots right here in inland parts of Pasco County picked up about 7 inches of rainfall. Now, the rainfall is going to continue. We'll bring in meteorologist Rebecca Berry to talk about that, and also some much better news in the offing.
Yes, and so we need a break, absolutely. And we have a little bit of a break, but we have to get through some much needed rain in between now and then. And so what we're doing tonight are passing on again, off again gusty showers as these bands of rain continue to get pulled across the state as Idalia continues to move away from us. And so we're waking up to a similar scenario. We are waking up muggy, around 80 degrees, but we'll stay in the 80s for the most part thanks to our enhanced breeze as well as these passing showers on again, off again, sometimes heavy, sometimes light. And so it will be one of those that you just have to keep an eye on the radar because there's no rhyme or reason as to why those showers are forming. They're just getting pulled across the state. And so it's not like a front where we can track it and time it out for you. Just know that we'll have some passing showers throughout the day on Friday and again throughout the day on Thursday and again on Friday. We start out Friday with 1 or 2 showers pushing through. We get bigger breaks in the rain on Friday during the day, but then once the rain does start to develop during the afternoon hours, it's a little bit more substantial and long-lasting over our inland areas Friday night. But things start to wrap up around sunset, and now we're going to change things up a little bit because we've got some drier air moving in. That's what Jeff was talking about. We need a break. We need a treat. And we've got some lower humidity headed our way just in time for the long holiday weekend. So much needed rain. We can't complain about these showers. Even though we got some good rain with Idalia, it wasn't enough. We need more, and we're getting more. And we'll get some more on Friday as well. But you will have bigger breaks in the rain so you can get your yard cleaned up, that sort of a thing. And honestly, the showers keep us out of the 90s for the next couple of days, and hopefully power will be restored by then. And so even as we head back into the 90s over the weekend, we get a nice break from the heat because of the showers and the gusty winds and the clouds. And so drier air moves in for the weekend and lowers our humidity. So very muggy over the next couple of days. The drier air starts to move in on Saturday, and then we get some lower dew points through the middle of the week. And so really nice out there. It's not going to be very noticeable during the afternoon hours, except for the fact that we have sunny skies, but at night we're getting down into the mid-70s. So if you wake up early next week and go outside, it's just going to feel a little bit nicer. Our onshore winds continue. They're certainly stronger tomorrow than they are on Friday, but they're still onshore. They've finally become offshore on Saturday. So any flooding that's still there or higher than normal high tides will start to get a lot better over the weekend with offshore winds to allow those larger volumes of water to push out back into the Gulf. And kind of a nice breeze on Sunday and Monday, that drier air, slightly cooler temperatures. We've got some better weather headed our way. But before before that, much needed rain chances, passing gusty showers on Thursday and Friday. And then Saturday's our day of transition, so we may still have a few showers, but then our chances for rain go way down and stay there. Our dew points dip a little bit. Look at these mid-70s. That's going to feel a lot better than waking up around 80 degrees and muggy. And so for the Labor Day holiday, we've got northeasterly winds around 10 miles per hour and only a 20% chance for showers. Mostly sunny skies, and that drier air also allows us to stay in those low 90s. So the nice breeze out of the northeast is helping with the temperatures. Much better weather headed our way. We're going to win the most improved forecast. Our Hurricane Idalia aftermath coverage continues just after this break.
I want to give our Mets some big shout out right now because they have been burning the candle at all the ends that you can burn a candle right now. So nice job to the two of you. You've really kept us informed. This really sums up what we've been dealing with.
What our minds feel like right now.
And actually, I'm hungry and I want spaghetti.
Yeah.
So that's why I put this up. But no, this is every hurricane that has come within 200 miles of essentially Steinhatchee, or Steinhatchee, in the last 170 years. And what you don't see is any red lines any closer than Cedar Key. So basically, the Big Bend has never seen a major hurricane on record until last night, because it's with the exception of the Cedar Key hurricane. So really, for about a 150 mile or 200 mile stretch, no major hurricanes.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is interesting.
And even the Tampa Bay area too, on another map you've shown, has dodged tropical storms, has dodged hurricanes. Knock on wood.
Do you have wood?
Let's
Seriously.
just keep it going in that direction.
I don't know what that is, but for Micah, I don't know.
No, but thank you, seriously. Kudos to both of you.
It's been a long,
I know
long
you
day.
are tired and ready, but the Bay Area appreciates the hard work that you guys have
And thanks to you for being with us for our continuing coverage on this storm. I think we're out of the woods for the most part now, heading in the right direction. I think a lot of people are happy. They just have to wait it out now for floodwaters to drop.
More to come, though. News Channel 8 at 6 is straight ahead.